beautiful black guys. Today we will be looking at, this video by Just Play Old Games, and he has a he has a title for a video that really caught my eye called "New Consoles Are Pointless Now." And just by the concept alone, I'm gonna have to say I completely agree with him. But let's get into the video, shall we?
Gaming these past few years has become as disappointing as a positive pregnancy test.
Looks like bad milk.
All the usual suspects are as bad as ever. AAA studios squirting out very expensive but low-quality titles, microtransactions,
Yep.
bad optimization,
That's something that really does not get brought up enough. The bad optimization in today's games. Meanwhile, they look uglier. They look more generic. They don't even look, and they are more stylized than they ever have been. So it's like, why the fuck are they taking all these resources from the consoles or any devices for that matter? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Stupid. In this generation, the last was normalized in the hobby. Just like when my sister let the 1979 Denver Broncos run a train on her. I'm just tired. Even Nintendo.
This guy. My guy, you should not make a joke about that when it comes to your sister. That's too far, bro. That's too far. I know there's self-deprecation humor. That's too far, dude.
With Metroid Prime 4, a game people have been waiting over a decade for, is the same vapid Marvel-style character writing that plagues gaming these days.
I think like Disney's Marvel was the worst fucking thing to ever happen to the media, really. I mean, like at first, I was like, wow, that's really cool that they got this niche thing like superheroes, right? And made it a complete juggernaut with the Avengers that came out in 2012 or whenever the hell it came out, right? That's great. That's amazing that they got these this really niche hobby and made it as popular as they did. That gives me hope for media in the future. But then like reality hit, and over the years they keep doing the same crappy thing, except here's a overabundance of CG and the same crappy character writing and even the same character types. Like they made Captain America, this person who was a lot more like a lot more serious, right? A lot more down to his work, right? And then they made him a fucking Tony Stark 2.0 with his little catchy quips or whatever. It's like, bro, stop. Just stop. It's so stupid. It's like, oh, God. Yeah, so it's like when people say like, oh my God, I missed the phase 1 of Avengers. Bro, even the phase 1 of Avengers sucked. Did you rewatch any of them? I'm pretty sure you didn't. But anyways, like, with that being said, I think the Avengers and Marvel slop in general, like modern Marvel slop, is what killed today's media, really.
On a planet, no hope of survival.
Oh my God, this dog shit.
Sitting next to Phil anymore in the cubicle, so... Win? Hey, shut up!
God.
Shut the fuck up!
Those are not my thoughts exactly. My thoughts would just be a giant anvil just smashing on his head, like just falling on his head. And it's not like a cartoon, like, no, real life, like, seriously. Because I imagine the losers who wrote this, that's why I'm like annoyed. I'm more so annoyed by that than the writing itself, because it's like they really thought that they're so fucking smart, and not to mention that I could write something better than this, and yet I don't have a job at Nintendo. Fucking why? Why?
You fucking retard!
They even locked some background music behind a $30 amiibo.
That's Nintendo for you. That's modern Nintendo. People like to shit on EA and Activision, right? But, Nintendo's worse than them. They're really worse than them. So,
with Micron recently announcing their exit from the consumer-facing memory market, everything hardware-related in the hobby is going to get even more expensive, except the great sense of apathy. That's one of the few things that remains free. For now. There's been some rumors about the next generation of consoles lately. Microsoft looks to be going the compact PC route similar to the Steam machine. Sony will likely continue to dominate.
They're going to charge like $1,200 for it, but okay.
The home console space with a new PlayStation, and Nintendo watches from the cuck chair just doing its own thing. Rumors that would normally have me tall and erect have left me feeling rather flaccid. I think that's because, with our current technology, a new generation of consoles doesn't offer enough to justify its own existence. There are several reasons for this. First of all, I want to clarify. I don't have a problem with console gaming. I understand the appeal.
I don't.
Plug the thing in.
I don't. I do have a huge a huge problem with console gaming. I do. It is the hemorrhoid of gaming. Oh my God, I'm starting to act like what's his name? Fucking Charlie. Ew, don't do that. Anyways, no, I think consoles are the cancer of gaming because They look, their hardware is very anemic, right? Like it really slows down progress in gaming. It does. And the other issue too is that they don't really do enough to warrant their existence. Like consoles are way more expensive, and you're better off getting a pre-built PC. It might be on like in the beginning more expensive, right? Like maybe a little bit more expensive, but when the PS7, or I'm sorry, when the PS5 Pro was coming out, you were able to get PCs or pre-built PCs that matched it, if not surpassed it. And even if it didn't, I mean, you do realize that the funny part, the funny part is that uh, like you're able to use a lot more out of those PCs than the PS5 Pro. I mean, hell, most of the time the PS5 Pro doesn't even run that good. Like it runs worse than the regular PS5 because the developers didn't utilize it, and there's nothing you could do about that. So, what the fuck was the point of that PS5 Pro? If I'm being honest, what was the point? What the hell was the point? Nothing.
Download firmware and game updates for 13 hours, then you just play.
So
no drivers or
my
keybinds or
thought
messing
is
with
that they're
graphics.
too expensive and they don't give you enough freedom with the hardware that is given. And not to mention that you can't even play PS4 games better on them. Like you say PS4 games on the PS5, they still play like PS4 games. It's not like you're able to take the PS4 game and give it PS5 performance. You can't do that. So what's the point of consoles? Like I said, what the hell is the point of consoles now? There's literally none. And the same thing with the Switch 1 to the Switch 2, right? Like, you can't take a Switch 1 game and make it the Switch 2 edition without spending a stupid amount of money that you really should not be spending. Kind of dumb.
No fuss and usually no headaches. I don't want consoles to go away, and it's not just for nostalgia or anything like that. The alternative is far worse.
I disagree. I think consoles going away will actually help gaming boost in quality. I really do. Consoles are, like I said, the cancer, And another thing I failed to mention for some reason was that there are only a stagnant amount of games that work for them, right? So Nintendo Switch, right, or the Nintendo consoles in general, what works for them? Just stupid kiddie, dog shit games like Mario, Zelda, and all those other ones that didn't evolve at all, really. Okay, well, I guess once Nintendo did make Breath of the Wild, and then like instead of recreating the brilliant design of the open world for Zelda, even though it's not that good anymore. I just tried Breath of the Wild and it's really not that good anymore. But you know what? It's better than their modern dog shit that they have now. So instead of that, they would like they just have like a bunch of crappy, open world games that are open world for no reason. But on top of that, they just have low effort dog shit games that look like PS2 games, and those are still doing good good enough on the Switch 2 and the Switch 1. Like, why? Or the Switch 1, sorry, not really the Switch 2. But anyways, yeah. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, why are those games succeeding? If those games were on PC, they would have failed or demanded a much lower price. I mean, really though, man, you guys on the Switch is what I'm saying. You guys are getting these ugly ass PS2 looking games with horrible designs to the levels and to the gameplay, whatever, right? And even to the content. For $70, like, man, that couldn't be anything on the PC. That's all I'm going to tell you, right? There couldn't be anything like that on the PC. That's all I'm going to tell you. And again, on the
console cycle as we know
PS5
it.
and Series X, it's the same shit too. It's like, oh, what's popular on there? Oh, FIFA, Call of Duty, whatever. Wow, what a shock. Now, I know that PC definitely does have games that are, like certain games that are popular on it, right? That constantly are popular on it. But that does not mean that there's not other games that could shine as well. We see a bunch of colorful indie games that just blow up on Steam out of nowhere. One of them is Schedule One, right? That's one of them, and then the other is Megabonk. Games like that just will demolish the PC charts or the Steam charts even. So it's like, no, there's more room for growth and creativity on PC. That's just not true on consoles. It's just not.
longer needs to exist, where time between generations should be far greater. The leap in technology from one console to the next has gone from huge, revolutionary bounds to small increments. The jump from NES to SNES was incredible at the time. The increase in pixel count and colors on screen, character sprites were much bigger and highly detailed. The entire industry was flipped on its head when the N64 came out and started the 3D
really
era.
sucks that like consoles really dropped off, and yeah, you know, like there was a reason really to have PCs, even for gaming, right? PCs for gaming. And then consoles for gaming as well. Like there was a reason to have a PC, a Nintendo 64, a PS1, even a Sega Saturn to some degree, but it's like you don't see that appeal now with the PS5, Series X, and Switch 2. You know, like if you really know how to get Nintendo's games on the PC, wink wink, you know, you don't need a Switch or Switch 2, admittedly. Hell, you could even buy the game, right, and then put the code or whatever onto your PC. Like you could dump the code onto your PC and play it better. If anything, you could play it in a better way. Like through, it could be via an emulator or whatever, right? Like there's ways to do that, and the lack of ways to do that with a Switch 2 is very concerning. It is, or Switch 1 or 2, it doesn't matter. It's very concerning. That's really bad, if I'm being honest. So. Yeah, and like really, and what games are on the PS5 and Series X versus the PC? Tell me. Not much, right? Like even Sony's games, the PS5 games or whatever, they're coming to PC, every single one. So, yikes.
I remember the Toys R Us at the mall had a Mario 64 demo kiosk, and there was almost always a crowd there, taking turns deep throwing the controller's weird prongs. The GameCube, PS2, and Xbox generation was a creamy delight. It did away with the low polygon blocky look of its predecessors and introduced the beginning of photorealistic art styles in gaming. Character models started to look more lifelike, environment textures were much more detailed, and voice acting was becoming more common. The HD era, the 360...
Yeah, I love that. But yeah, the HD era, you know, the seventh generation, which is the best generation of gaming, hands down. This was really when every platform, in my opinion, shined in their own way, right? PC had games that just could not be handled on consoles at the time, like Crysis, right? Like you needed a really good gaming PC in order to handle that game. And of course, they made like watered down ports of like Crysis 2 and 3 for the consoles, right? And yeah, it was just better on PC and stuff like that. Yeah. But the first Crysis was made for the top of the line PCs at the time. You know, and you just had experiences like that just were better off on PC and not on consoles. And then on top of that, you have a really cheap and nice alternative that gave you a lot of games, whether they were shovelware or not, gave you a lot of games. Basically, it's like the App Store of today, right? Known as the Wii. The Wii gave you a lot of experiences that were both good. Like there's a lot that was good, some that were bad, and then some that were okay. You know, so yeah, the Wii was a really nice mini console, you could call it, right? It wasn't as powerful as the other two, but it was cheaper, and again, it gave you a decent amount of casual experiences that the other ones did not give you. So, yep. And then the 360, obviously, really leaning heavily on the online experience that you did not see with any other console, you know, really. Like the Wii and PS3, none of them really went heavy on the online. And then you have the PS3 that gave you just a lot of experiences, like with RPGs and, you know, and free online and, you know, all that stuff. Like, even had the same third-party games as Xbox, as a 360, but, you know, just online-wise, it didn't do a good enough job. So, but it still had those experiences, and it had, like, games that couldn't be handled on the 360 without some compromises, and the Wii, obviously. So, yep.
PS3 is the last significant leap in terms of what consoles are capable of, in my opinion. A friend of mine got a 360 fairly early into its life cycle, and I was in awe of how good Oblivion looked. And that wasn't even on an HD TV. Being able to play something like Gears of War and Call of Duty 2 didn't seem real at the time. I used to think there's no way to get better than this. I was wrong, but
and the
not by much.
PSP, which were peak portable gaming, by the way. Really, I don't think any other portable, like traditional portable, did it as good as the DS and PSP. Straight up.
When the Xbox One was revealed and Microsoft was showing off gameplay, I tried to be more excited. The games looked marginally better, and I'm sure there was lots of crazy stuff going on to have so many zombies on screen at once, but I, along with my friends and a lot of people online, weren't really blown away. Cross-gen titles like Black Flag and Call of Duty Ghosts barely looked any different on the shiny new hardware. They weren't lacking any features, and they both ran at the same frame rate. There were people adamantly arguing that the next-gen versions of these games looked way better. But let's be honest, the difference was like playing on a clean TV as opposed to one covered in doo-doo. I'm sure a lot of the stuff developers were doing with the new hardware wouldn't be possible
to the Xbox One and stuff like that, and the PS4. Yeah, no. This generation wasn't... Okay, here's the thing. I don't think that this generation was horrible. What? Yeah, no, I don't think that the first half of this generation was horrible. I mean, to be honest, we actually did get some games that utilized the newer pieces of hardware, right? We had you know, Dead, what was it? Not Left 4 Dead. He just said it too. It was Dead Rising. There you go. Dead Rising 3, which not only did that game had more zombies and more action and stuff like that, but it still kept a nice art style and like nice visuals, right? Like that couldn't be handled on the PS3 and 360. It couldn't. It could not be handled on those consoles. You know. And then we also have like stuff like the Batman Arkham Knight, which was absolutely amazing. And of course, like at first it ran like shit. Of course, you had that stupid, you know, modern curse basically at the time. But these consoles, they still ran amazing. You know, they still ran amazing. I mean, you know, that game looked amazing, and there was so much you could do in it. Like that was basically Arkham City, like 6 times. That's how big the game was, and even looked more detailed. Although I didn't like the visual effect as much as like Arkham City. I think Arkham City was peak Arkham, but like in terms of the technicalities, Arkham Knight blew everything away. Like it blew everything out of the water. So you got to give it credit, really. You got to give credit for that. But yeah, like what I'm trying to say is that the beginning of the Xbox One and PS4 generation was just an extensive, was a expansive, expansive of quality, whatever you want to call it. It's basically like the upgraded 360 and PS3 games. That's what it was. And then later down the generation, you know, they're like, oh, this is focused only on online experiences, blah, blah, blah. And then everything just went to loot boxes, and then everything was like, oh, we're not like those other games who are more realistic, and look how stylized we are, and stupid shit like that. I kind of blame Overwatch for starting that whole stylized bullshit, like, for making games more mainstream and stylized like that. I really do, but whatever. I mean, I think like later down the line when gaming got more mainstream, which is more in like 2015, 2016, that's when gaming got worse, you know, and what happened to be there was the Xbox One and PS4. Those were the primary consoles for that. So unfortunately, not to mention that like in this generation too, the Wii U, you know, although I liked it, sucked ass, you know, in terms of what it offered, especially compared to the Wii and DS. Like there's no contest. And I actually think that the 3DS was a horrible pain to play on, really. Yeah, I did not like playing on the 3DS, if I'm being honest, seriously. And let's see, and the Vita did not live up to its potential. It's that simple. It really did not live up to its potential, and that sucks. So
PS3, but it wasn't immediately obvious like the jump from 2D to 3D or standard definition to HD. The same thing happened again with the transition from Xbox One X and PS4 Pro and their successors. The PS5 and Series X offered another $400 to $500 upgrade cost for some pretty small improvements. If you get a better visual upgrade, watching the comedy arise for free. A new console generation used to offer industry transforming leaps in technology. That's no longer the case these days. But companies insist on releasing new consoles at the same cadence, despite developers not really taking advantage of what we already have. With prices getting higher and higher, it's going to be much harder to justify a console upgrade that makes games look a little bit better. The line between generations has never been blurred.
Unrecognizable. Like, no, I mean these are almost like identical, dude. Like seriously.
The Last of Us came out on the PS3 originally, and it was awesome. A perfect showcase of what Naughty Dog could do with a console that was nearly at the end of its life cycle. Then there was a PS4 version, and it was improved a bit. Better textures and frame rate, that's good, but not groundbreaking. Then they remade the game from the ground up, and yeah, it looks good. It's no Final Fantasy VII or Link's Awakening because they waited like 15 minutes between the original and the remake, so there's not much of a difference in technology. Skyrim, one of the most ported games of all time, got a special edition on PS4 and Xbox One, and that shit looks nearly identical. Another thing we lost in the transition.
See that was also the admin of remasters and remakes and stuff like that, and that's what fucked up the PS4 and Xbox One generation, admittedly.
Between 8th and 9th gen was optimization. One of the biggest and most consumer-friendly practices of the last few years is releasing games unfinished, buggy, and low quality.
First $70 game, by the way. This piece of shit, Redfall.
Their GPU overhead isn't going to fix the fundamental design philosophy that AAA publishers have adopted, which is to evacuate whatever monstrosity they have by launch day and hopefully fix it after everyone got duped. Games come out running like shit all the time, whether you dropped a few $100 on a new console or not.
Which
Mid-cycle refresh
really started to make the consoles completely irrelevant. You know, it really started this trend.
because the new generations come
I
out
mean,
often
I
enough
truly
that
don't
developers don't have the
understand
same
how
need
the
to.
hell we're not able to play most PS4 caliber games on PS5 for like 120 frames, at like 120 frames. I truly do not understand that. How the fuck do we not have that option? When the PS4 and Xbox One came out, they were dated as fuck, you know? I mean, theoretically, I think on paper you should be able to. But because the studios and the game developers and everybody are trash at their job, well, that didn't happen.
Familiarize themselves with the current console. Late lifecycle games used to be the most impressive showcases of what could be done on aging hardware. Developers could use the experience they gained from working on the same platform for years and really take advantage of every last smidgen of poo these consoles could squeeze out. God of War 2 is still used to this day as a benchmark to test newer devices that are capable of PS2 emulation. It was punching way above its weight,
I
and
actually
it
didn't
came out
know
about
that.
4 months
Like,
after the PS3
this
was
game
revealed.
is a test of that. Oh, holy shit! Yeah, you don't get games like these anymore as well. By the way, like you do not get these like over the top bloody games and like with fun, satisfying combat or at least combat that tests your knowledge of the game's mechanics, right? Like you just don't get games like that anymore. You don't.
Shelves. David Jaffe is kind of a douchebag, but there's no denying he made one of the best character action games ever. If it had come out today, he would have been forced to split time and resources on a cross-gen PS3 version. The artistry and technical knob-gobbling required to make these games is a thing of the past. Final Fantasy IX, Metal Gear Solid, Shadow of the Colossus, and Donkey Kong Country 3 are all good examples of what we lost when developers kind of forgot how to make a well-optimized product. If companies can't put out a decent, relatively bug-free game on current consoles, releasing a new generation isn't going to magically grant them the ability to do so. The most obvious answer to these problems is to calm down and let the PS5 and Series X cook a little longer. Optimize the absolute shit out of every game that gets released. The longer a console is relevant and still getting quality titles, the better value to the customer who doesn't need to
Yeah.
upgrade for a longer period of time.
And like that was another problem that started with admittedly with the PS4 and Xbox One generation. It's like, oh, here's the PS4 version, and here's the PS3 version of the PS3 game. It's like, who the hell? So, you guys got a PS4 at launch just to play slightly better PS3 games. Like I was over there with my Wii U laughing at people because it's like, yo, at least us over here at the Wii U station, we're getting complete upgrades to games. You are not. You guys were literally getting remasters and shit all the fucking time on PS4 and Xbox. That shit was sad, truly.
Realize that's kind of a pipe dream since the companies that make the consoles and publishers that want to fuck you in the ass with every game release don't really care about providing value. They want you to consume product and then get excited for next product. As I mentioned earlier, I don't want consoles to go away, and I definitely don't want consoles that are exclusively
You just named
digital. You'll
all
own
the
nothing.
problems that and the reasons why consoles are are relevant. Why do you not want them to go away? You see, he's one of those people that are still like, oh, I had good memories with them, so I don't want them to go away. Why? I want them to go away, and I was, born obviously as a console gamer. Born, yeah. I just came out of my mom's womb and played this fucking Sega Genesis controller with a couple of NES games on it. Yep, that's me. But anyways, no, if that was the case, I actually would have been better at games. But here's the thing, though. I started playing on consoles. I did, and I've been playing on consoles for a long time. Then I have saw the light, brother, with PC. I have. PC is what these shitty, consoles and whatever should be able to do with modern gaming. That's what the PC is, right? Even though, unfortunately, it still shares all these dog shit DEI games, these ugly fucking stylized games with, ugly characters and stuff like that. I don't like a lot of the games in modern gaming, but if you are to play them, which I don't know why you hate yourself that much and spend all that money, the PC is the best way to go. Absolutely, 100%. Because you could actually play those games at, gasp, 120 frames per second. Oh my god! And more than that, obviously, but, all I'm saying is that you could probably play the game at twice the frame rate that's available on the shitty-ass PS5, or even 4 times the frame rate that's available on the PS5 and Series X. That is a complete joke. Not to mention that now the PC, Series X, and PS5 are all sharing basically the same games, even when it comes to Microsoft and Sony's first-party games. So it's like, why do you want consoles to stay? I want them to go away. Please, let them die. Let them die, bro. I'm begging, let them die. Which they will. They will, within this console generation, I think they will. Not the PS5 and Series X, but I mean the PS6 and Series X squared, or whatever the fuck is going to be called, the Magnus. I guess we could call it. But yeah, and with the Switch too. I think these will probably be the final consoles. Now I think Nintendo will try one more time, and then they're going to go away. Absolutely, like, or at least in terms of consoles. They're probably going to move on to mobile, but I think they're most likely going to release, games on PC with their own launcher. That's what I think is going to happen. But I still find that a way better alternative than them continuing to make their games for their dog shit hardware that no one likes. Not even the third-party developers. Like, you see barely any third-party games happening on Nintendo consoles because they don't sell enough. That's one. Or two, the fucking hardware is shit. Or three, both. So it's like, dude, there's no point of the Switch, by the way, or the Switch 2, because we have the Steam Deck and all the other PC handhelds now. So there's literally no point, especially when the only difference between the Switch 2 and the Steam Deck and all those other, PC handhelds is that, well, the hardware on the Steam Deck and everything else, you could actually utilize them. Whether they're better or not is completely irrelevant. You could utilize it better than the dumbass Switch 2 and Switch 1, obviously. And then not to mention that the other difference is that, oh no, you don't get to play dog shit fucking Nintendo first party slop. Oh, Jesus, dude. I can't pay for Tears of the Kingdom $70 on my PC. Oh wait, I could get it for free. Well, if I actually found it worth it, which I don't. I don't care about these games enough to even emulate them or pirate them, really. I don't care. And if I'm being honest, I don't even know how to pirate games. But even if I did, Nintendo's games are not on that top of the priority list, The priority list to me would actually be games that you can no longer get anymore, which is actually like the Avengers game that came out in 2020, even though that was a piece of shit. It would have been a better game to play on my Steam Deck than the fucking PS5, so there you go. That kind of sucks, but, I guess that was a shit game anyway, so whatever. What I'm trying to say is that each and every console that's out right now that's relevant, they're completely outclassed and outdone by the PC side of the market. So again, like, PC handhelds are better than the Switch or Switch 2 completely. Yeah, shut the fuck up. If you're using Nintendo first-party games as a way to, to justify your purchase of the Switch 2, you're really part of the problem. I'm sorry, you are. If you're, and on the PS5 and Series X, literally all your games on those consoles are on the PC, but better. And you don't have to pay for online. So, yeah. Why do you want consoles again?
To be happy is what most of entertainment is striving for these days. Everything has a subscription. You're not allowed to repair your smart toaster because the manufacturer will ban you from their artisanal whole wheat monthly service. Same is happening with gaming. Microsoft is already well down that path with Game Pass.
Consoles started this whole stupid thing of like censoring you and kicking you out of their little stupid ecosystem too, by the way. Because you hurt someone's feelings on Xbox Live. Yeah, I'm not fucking kidding. People actually got kicked out of Xbox Live because of that. So again, why do you want consoles to stay? And by the way, that's a service that you're paying for. Yearly or monthly, whatever the hell thing you do. But, by value wise, you'd be doing it yearly if you're going to keep playing on that console online. Right? So, yeah. Really, you're paying to get cucked, apparently, with your online.
Are even bothering with another console at all at this point. PlayStation Plus is similar, but Sony doesn't put as much emphasis on that as Microsoft does. Owning a console with physical games is one of the last mediums that still offers that experience. Best Buy doesn't sell DVDs or Blu-rays anymore, lets people buy books because of the convenience of e-readers. People are way too comfortable giving up all their ownership for everything. I 100% believe that gaming is going to get there eventually, but at least for now, consoles and physical games are one of the last bits of media you can actually own.
Even as a PC gamer primarily, I'm guilty of this because they have the rest of the data that you would get from your boxed copy of a game, on the server. So you had to still download the game when you buy it, which is fucking stupid. Yeah, like in almost none of the data, barely any of the fucking data is on the CD or cartridge on consoles. So again, why would you, say it with me now, why do you want consoles to stay?
Well, I have hundreds of games in my Steam library, none of which I actually own. I'm just leasing the license to play them. And if you fuck up and are mean in Counter-Strike, Valve can take that entire library away if they want. One of the possible alternatives to entirely new generations
of and Nintendo, did he not realize that that's what fucking happened with like Sony's Crunchyroll shit or whatever, what happened like with their whole digital garbage, whatever happened to them, like a year or two ago, where they like Sony took people's like digital libraries of anime stuff and whatever, right? Like anything that they owned on a Sony um, video or movie streaming platform, that or not streaming, sorry, like anywhere where you could buy the movies and shows, Sony just took it away. I forgot what service that was, but basically Sony owned that service, so they were able to do that. So what the hell is he talking about? The same exact thing happened with even like stuff that Sony owns. What makes you think they can't do that with the PS5? Like what?
As maybe modular devices. You can buy a base model that plays every game available on it,
And we're
and a
even
little bit
seeing
later you
now,
can
we're
upgrade
even
specific
seeing
components.
Nintendo like brick Switch 2s. So even your hardware is not safe. What the fuck kind of shit is that? Even your hardware is not safe. So motherfucker, come on, man. Like, yo, come on, bro. Valve could take that away from you. Well, Nintendo could take away your right to use their fucking Switch 2. Your point?
For a smaller cost rather than buying an entirely new console. Though that's getting pretty close to PC building, and the whole point of consoles is you don't have to worry
Yes,
about
you
upgrading
do.
components. With the price of
Because,
pretty much
like, each and every game runs like shit. So yes, you do actually. You do have to upgrade about worrying. I mean, you do have to worry. You do have to worry about upgrading actually, because if you won't, like more and more games are gonna run like more and more like shit. And even when it comes to the Switch 2, even though that if they were able to optimize the games well, you'd be able to like play Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch 1, but due to their poor optimization, they're not able to give you Donkey Kong Bonanza on the Switch 1. And like more stuff like that. So again, I tell you, what are you talking about? Because even with PC, by the way, you don't have to worry about that. With PC, you don't have to worry about upgrading and stuff like that. No, you my God, these people don't know what the hell they're talking about.
going up, video games are no longer competing with just each other. They're also competing against groceries. I feel we can get so much more out of the PS5 and Series X, just like we could have gotten much more out of the One X and PS4 Pro. With the price of memory going through the roof, it may not even be possible to manufacture a new console generation and have it be affordable to a wide audience. Microsoft and Sony should slow down a little, wait for the...
Like they still have not utilized the PS5 and Series X, so I don't know why they're even thinking about making a PS6 and X squared, whatever.
market to come back down and give developers and customers a few more years with the consoles we have. Then release new hardware when we truly have a large leap in technology to justify the cost.
If they do that, then we're gonna be stuck with the fucking like games being made around the PS5 and Series X. Like, bro, do we really want that? We already on PC we already have like fucking graphics cards that stomp whatever the hell the PS5 and Series X are able to offer. Come on now, like come on, what is this shit? Like, oh yeah, just keep supporting these dog shit outdated fucking consoles. Because even though that was your job to fucking do when they launched. Like, okay, guys, my example is that how many years did it take for the NES to be completely thrown out for the SNES? Not long. Not long. Because it was Nintendo's job to make games for this Super Nintendo, and they did. They made completely different games, much better games, and people moved on from the NES to the SNES. If you made a PS5 caliber game, even if you put on PS4, but you showed it that difference that the PS5 was able to handle, at a much more stable frame rate or better visuals, whatever, right? You would be fine. That would have been okay. Like, the fuck is this, man? Ugh.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end.
That's it of the video. But basically, I disagree with him about consoles needing to stay. In fact, he didn't really say why they needed to stay. He didn't say that, except for my physical media and like I don't want consoles to go away, like or I don't want my ownership to go away. Bro, your ownership is already gone. Starting with the PS4 and Xbox One, they're already gone, bro. Sorry to tell you, like that all shifted as soon as games started to require you to download and everything like that, right? So that's what happened. Like ever since games didn't have the disc or this, the data on the disc, you already did not own your data. Like, it's that simple. Oh my God. Anyways, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.